Hi folks, this is a nice spot. I like to come here sometimes. It's a beautiful country, folks, it really is. A beautiful place to be. Queensland, Australia. I like this place. Yeah, I like to come here sometimes. It's a nice relaxing area. You get away from the worries of the world. Well, I don't know if they're really worries, but just the situation of the world. So how are we today, folks? Another day, another piece of coronavirus legislation. That's what it seems to be these days in the new corona reality that we seem to be living in. Because that's sort of what it seems to be. A lot of stuff on the horizon. The plans that Trump's put in place for the Fed. People are saying I'm not finding any information about him nationalising the Fed. No, you won't, folks, because it's happening kind of behind the scenes. You know, what he's done is he's put the Fed in a position where it's going to have to pay for so much stuff, and you watch that within the next weeks or months you're going to see the Fed and the Treasury merge. And that isn't going to be draining the swamp, it's just bringing the swamp into the government. And you know, you've got to understand at the top of the chain, the top of the food chain, the banksters, the Illuminati, whoever you want to call them, I mean, they don't care where the money comes from, they don't care what sort of money it is, just as long as you've got to pay to be alive. That's what they really care about. There's a horse up there. Oops. Still trying to work this camera out, folks, and get things right with it. There we go, I pushed stop again. I meant to spin the camera around. I do this sometimes, but there's a horse up there. I don't know if you can see that. You should be able to. Yeah. But yeah, another day, another piece of legislation, folks. That's the way it seems to be. In Victoria, they've announced today that gatherings of more than 2 people are outlawed. You may face fines of up to $1,600 if you're found in gatherings of more than 2 people. And that's very reassuring. You might hear a bit of motor noise up here, folks. Some guy mowing his lawn, that's the way it goes. But they're saying any gatherings of people more than 2 will be outlawed. So that's another thing. I'll show you a little bit of what's going on around here, folks. It's a nice space. It's a very nice area, this whole area. Yeah, outlawing gatherings of more than 2. Now, this is being done, as I've said, you know, on March 19. They downgraded the coronavirus, COVID-19, they downgraded it from a high consequence infectious disease to just a normal disease. This is in March 19. There's also been reports that the infection rate, predictions were wrong, and the infection rate is expected to be much, much lower than what it was.
Just now reporting, the Daily Wire headline reads, epidemiologist behind highly cited coronavirus model admits he was wrong, drastically revises model. Now, this model informed government policy decisions in the U.S. and the U.K. So Ferguson basically just gave us evidence in the U.K.'s Parliamentary Select Committee on Science and Technology as part of the nation's coronavirus response. So going back to the Daily Wire report, Ferguson's model projected 2.2 million dead in the United States and 500,000 in the United Kingdom if no action was taken. The Daily Wire writes, after just one day of ordered lockdowns in the UK, Ferguson has changed his tune. Now the epidemiologist predicts hospitals will be just fine taking on COVID-19 patients and estimates 200,000 or far fewer people will die from the virus itself or from its agitation or other ailments. So we have 500,000 goes to 20,000. The article continues. It talks about an author and former New York Times reporter, Alex Bernison. He says, quote, "This is a remarkable turn from Neil Ferguson, who led the Imperial College authors, who warned of 500,000 UK deaths, and who has now himself tested positive for COVID," stated Bernison. He now says both that the UK should have enough ICU beds and that the coronavirus will probably kill under 20,000 people in the UK, more than half of whom would have died by the end of the year in any case because they were so old and sick. This is his words. Now, what's interesting here, the Daily Wire writes that just days before Ferguson's about-face, Oxford epidemiologist Sunitra Gupta criticized him, saying, quote, "I am surprised that there has been such unqualified acceptance of the imperial model." Now, Gupta herself has a model that is basically suggesting that the virus, the COVID virus, was circulating in the UK by mid-January, around 2 weeks before the first reported case and a month before the first reported death. Her Oxford model is claiming that half of people already have it. So back to the Daily Wire. So it says, quote, "If her model is accurate, fewer than 1 in 1,000 who've been infected with COVID-19 become sick enough to need hospitalization, leaving the vast majority with mild cases or free of symptoms." So in other words, Ferguson's highly influential initial model was off by orders of magnitude.
I am nothing short of speechless right now.
But despite all this, they're still bringing in these measures. We've got the military being brought into play in most countries. America looks like it's going to get pretty well locked down completely. We've got Army being called in here in Australia. Army reserves are being called up, all sorts of stuff. The politicians are really pushing it, really pushing the fear, and so is the media. We're being told that the hospitals in New York are overflowing, not enough ventilator machines, and yet people that are going and checking out the hospitals are saying it looks pretty quiet. Not many people around at all. So it's all a media propaganda blitz that we're seeing, folks. It's not really it's not the death toll and the death rate that we're hearing. We're just not seeing it. Not if people go and look at these places. Just check out some of this area. But yeah, we're not seeing anything to confirm the reports that we're hearing from the government and from the media. We're not seeing that if we go to the hospitals ourselves. We're just seeing empty hospitals, not too much going on, just pretty well standard, everyday, run-of-the-mill activity. Nothing. And we're seeing, again, there's been something like 110,000 people have died this year from the seasonal flu. Around about 20,000 have died from the coronavirus. It's a pretty low death toll considering what this virus is supposed to be doing. So, you know, I thought I'd come out and do another walk and talk today because I don't know how long I'll be able to do them for. We're not locked down yet in Queensland, but I'm expecting it to come. You know, the Prime Minister appeared on television this morning, hair a mess and all sorts of stuff, you know, worried look on his face. He looked like someone had just messed his hair up before he went out there on camera, you know, trying to look like they're really stressed out and everyone's having a really hard time with this. And they are, folks, because the amount of people that are losing their jobs, we've got hundreds of thousands of people have lost their jobs here in Australia. Thousands of small businesses have closed their doors. Millions of people have lost their jobs in the United States. I don't know what the figure is in England and in other countries. And like I said, it's a matter of what countries aren't under lockdown now. The list is shorter than the countries that are under lockdown. You know, we're told this is going to go until April 12th. It was 2 weeks, then we're told April 12th. But here in Australia, I mean, virtually the whole place is virtually under martial law, even though it hasn't been declared, because the government has gone on holiday until August and basically handed the reins of power over to the military. So that's a worry. And they say they say April 12th, but how long is it really going to be, folks? There is talk that this social distancing needs to last for a year. There is other talk that it needs to last for about 18 months. And this in itself is incredibly damaging psychologically to people. That's the problem as well. The psychological impacts of all of this. It isn't just the financial, the economic impacts, it's the psychological impacts as well. Just keeping people isolated from each other like this. People need people. People need human contact with other people. And we're not able to do that with all of this social distancing rubbish. So, there's a much deeper play here, folks, and this is definitely not going to go back to normal anytime soon. And it is a push for control. There's always a push for control. I've been wondering whether this is like a trial run for what they intend to do, but I think this is actually, I think they're going to keep this in place. Like I said, they'll roll it back a little bit. They'll roll little sections of it back, but it'll never be rolled back to where it was, because they never do. They never do it that way. They may not get away with bringing it on, full-on open slather right here to begin with, in this one big move. They may have to do it in a couple of moves, but I think this is the big play. The amount of military that we're seeing brought into play here, tanks and all sorts of stuff. These aren't hospital vehicles, folks. These are military vehicles, crowd control vehicles. We're seeing the military being brought in to assist the police. The police are militarized anyway, so it's just kind of merging them together, and we can see this happening. We've been predicting this for a long time. And some of the stuff they're talking about, folks, cameras that read your temperature, drones that go out there and check for coronavirus in people, that hover 60 meters above a crowd and check anybody for vital signs as they're entering an airport or whatever. Cameras. They're talking about there's legislation in place in New Zealand where the police can enter any home if they suspect that you are gathering in a crowd of, more than 2 people or more than 10 people or whatever it is, whatever the laws are in New Zealand. They can enter any home, they can test anybody for this alleged virus, even though, the test, it's just basically anybody with flu symptoms. They can say you may have coronavirus and you need quarantine. Right now at the change of seasons, when everyone develops flu symptoms, most people get sniffles and all sorts of stuff. So, they've totally got a winner with this one, folks. It checks all the boxes for everything they want to do. And it's going to be interesting to see where it goes, If the people don't stand up now, then it's just going to go the way they want to push it, because they will push until we push back. And it's time we did push back. It's time we called it. It's time we asked them, why are you doing these lockdowns and why are you putting all this in place and still spreading fear, even though the virus has been downgraded, even though the estimated number of deaths has been downgraded? Why do you keep telling us there's going to be these hundreds of thousands of deaths? They're expecting 200,000 deaths in America. How can they predict that when the virus has been downgraded? Why aren't they bringing the real information? And a lot of the reason, we know why they're not, but a lot of the reason why they continue to not bring the right information to people is because no one's standing up and questioning it. Everyone's simply going along with it. And that's the problem. We comply with our own slavery, folks. And, the day we stop complying is the day things will change. But if we're not prepared to do that, if we're just going to do what the government says and we're just going to wait for someone to come along and save us, then, we've already lost. We've already lost under those conditions. And so now's the time for men to be men. Now's the time for people to stand up. There's actually a good talk by Jeff Berwick in his walk and talk that I saw this morning, when he was saying it's now time for men to be men and stand up for their families. Embrace the warrior spirit, folks. And, really to do that, all you've got to do is ask questions. just ask the right questions. I might end it here because this whippersnipper's getting a little bit loud. It's probably getting a bit loud for you too, and the guy doesn't appear like he's going to go away anytime soon. Maybe I can walk up this way a little bit. Maybe it'll get a bit quieter. But now's the time for people to stand up, folks. It really is. And you watch, we're going to see this whole monetary system merge. We're going to see the Fed merge with the Treasury, and we're going to see the need to introduce a new currency because this one isn't going to last. And I reckon it's going to be a digital currency. I reckon they're going to use this event to steer people away from cash. I mean, people are already terribly fearful of cash now. You know, nobody wants to use cash. You go to the stores, go to the shops, nobody wants to accept your cash because they're all too scared it may be tainted. And that's one of the big problems we're facing, folks. You know, people just are being led to this place that they really don't want to be led to. You know, and they need to pay attention to what's going on. They really do. People need to pay attention to what's happening, and they need to be, you know, looking out for themselves, looking out for their family, and standing up for themselves. It's so important that people stand up for themselves, folks. You know, if you never thought it was coming, you know, and you thought that we were all conspiracy theorists, well, you know, everything we've said has been vindicated. Everything we've warned people about has come to pass, and this is just the beginning. Like I said, you know, many times, folks, this is just the beginning. It's just going to get more strange from this point on. So yeah, time to pay attention, folks. Time to, you know, get in touch with reality a little bit. Don't wait for the government to come and save you. The government is the one that is instigating this whole scenario. It's time for us to stand up and reclaim ourselves, reclaim our spirit, reclaim our humanity, because all of this is being taken from us with this move. You know, and the order followers, again, are the worst problem. You know, the guys in the military, the guys in the police, they're the biggest problem that we face. You know, with the politicians and everything they do, I mean, they're just puppets really for the bankers at the top. You know, the banksters, like I said, whoever you want to call these parasites that run the show. But like I said, in looking at it all, it's important to understand that the Federal Reserve System, it doesn't matter. They don't care if that doesn't last. People think, oh, if Trump takes on the Fed, he'll be dead. No, it's not like that. They don't care if the Federal Reserve System doesn't last. The Federal Reserve System was just there to enslave us and lead us to this point where they could bring us to this one world digital currency. You've got people like Gordon Brown calling for a one world government to fight coronavirus. You can see where they're taking it all, folks. This is the plan that they've wanted to put into motion for a long time. Yeah, and it'll also, you know, evolve around medical martial law, as so well outlined by James Corbett in his presentation that I shared with you on the last report that I did. I'll put a link below on this one again. I'll put a link below again to the X22 report about what Donald Trump's doing with the financial system and how the Fed is going to be merging with the Treasury. And, you know, it has to happen. That's what's going to happen. You watch. And no, there won't be any official announcement about it, not yet. You may not even notice it happen. You'll just see it as a world economic collapse and them coming in to save the day with their new system that they've structured, which is just going to be oh so beneficial for us. They play it this way all the time, folks. So, yeah, pay attention. We're heading into stranger and stranger times, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, pay attention, stay safe, look after each other through all of this. You know, now's the time that we have to count on each other more than anything else. You know, this is the time we've been waiting for. It's here. Welcome to the New World Order. They even announced it on Channel 7 News the other night.
And also the New World Order that will come into force at 12 p.m, that's midnight tonight. New restrictions on various businesses, David S.
So yeah, it isn't like it isn't coming. It's already here. But thanks for listening, folks. I'll bring you another report again soon. I'll try to do another walk and talk while I'm still able to come outside and do them without getting a $1,600 fine or whatever. I mean, I don't know how they're going to stop people from coming out and coming to places like this, but I'm sure they'll try. But do take care. Do stay safe. I'll speak to you again soon. Thank you for all the kind emails. I am trying to get through them. I'm going to get to my Facebook messages soon. I've got hundreds and hundreds of them. Thank you for all the information people are sending me from so many countries around the world. People are sending me information about the lockdown that's happening in Italy, the lockdown that's happening in Germany. Apparently in Germany they did the hand clap thing as well, where everyone goes out and claps for the National Health Service and the great job they're doing. Yeah, it's a mockery, folks. They're just seeing how much they can control people. But apparently this has happened in a few countries. It happened in the UK, happened in Germany, happened in India. Bit of a rebellion going on in India as well. The people don't seem to like the steps the government is going to keep them safe from themselves. So there was a video I saw of people throwing rocks at police cars and chasing them out of town in India. So that's an interesting turn of events as well. It'd be nice to see that happening in a few other places, you know. But anyway, folks, hold on to your hats because we ain't seen nothing yet. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for sharing the information you share with me. Thank you for all the kind emails. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters. I'll look forward to speaking to you again as soon as I'm able, which will be soon in the next couple of days. Please take very good care until then. In Lakesh.